I hear that.
Okay. So, remember when a ray gun was just a ray gun? When water polo and Flava Flav were not associated with each other in any possible way? And a pole vaulter from France didn't hit himself with his Johnson on the way up? That was 3 weeks ago. This is now. I'm B-Boy Rabbi, and alongside me is B-Boy Jay and B-Boy A Strait. And welcome to the not-so B-Boy edition, the Olympic wrap-up special of On the Sports Lines. Tonight, we'll go rapid-fire observations of 6 different disciplines, and then wrap it up with a big finish. The judges are already waiting to give us scores, so let's get to it. We'll start with swimming. USA Swimming won themselves 28 medals in total, 8 of them gold, beating Australia in both of those totals. Suck it, kangaroos! That's right, we rock. So even though swimming finished halfway through the Olympics, there were still some memorable moments that we need to talk about. Let's start with Katie Ledecky, who sees the numbers 800 and 1500 and just licks her lips and is ready to pounce. She won the 800 meters and 1500 meters again. It was her 4th 800 in a row, and the 1500 meters was, an Olympic record. Janet Evans, Natalie Coughlin, so many names in women's swimming, and there's only one who's won 14 medals. That's Katie. She's the most decorated female swimmer of all time. Despite finishing 3rd in the opening event for her, the 400, guys, Katie proves that she's the best distance female swimmer in history, and you know what? Maybe just drop the distance in that previous sentence. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first since I had Katie on our preview show. And I said on that show, she's the USA's queen of the pool. Did not disappoint. Well, watching her battle her longtime adversary, Australian Ariane Titmus, and Canadian sensation Summer McIntosh across all 3, the 400, 800, and 15-meter, 100-meter distances, was appointment viewing for week 1. 4 more medals, 2 golds, a silver, and a bronze. Golds in those signature events, the 800 and 1500, giving her, as Rabbi said, that 14 overall total with 9 golds. I mean, has the record for most gold medals by an American woman in Olympic swimming. That gold in 800, she joins Michael Phelps as the only swimmers in history to win 4 Olympic gold medals in the same event. Her gold in the 1500, where she set that Olympic record, 1530.02. Ledecky at her most dominant. I mean, she's swimming in the opposite direction of all the others because she was that far ahead of them all. Look, I hope she swims in LA. It'd be nice for her to end her Olympic career at home. It'd be interesting to see if she could still be that dominant in the 800 and 1500 as a 31-year-old. Can't see her swimming the 400 but no matter what, her legacy as the greatest American woman swimmer ever is secured.
Let me tell you, I was going back and forth with Rabbi. I think everybody on the sports line chat watching that 1500-meter freestyle. It was so funny because it's like, okay, the rest of the field is on one side of the pool. She's on the other side, and they're basically crisscrossing each other because she's already done her laps. It was just the most dominant performance I've seen in a long time. I was like, I'm just sitting there just astonished. Like, she can slow up and still win by a good 20 seconds. Because that's how
she's gonna dog paddle her way to the goal.
Yeah. It was like if she wanted to double breaststroke the last meet and just basically profile it, she could do it. It was just unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, I think she pretty much solidified herself as the most decorative female swimmer, especially of our generation, without question, with the 14 medals. But to defend her title in the 800 to 1500 meter, now consecutive Olympians, just unbelievable performance, without question. We're definitely
we're gonna get to a lot of stuff here. Yeah, that's why we're going rapid fire on this.
I'll save it. Yeah.
Let's save it for this next one. Isaac Newton said, for every action comes an equal and opposite reaction, and for every success comes an equal and opposite failure. Kayla Dressel's short distance success fell to the wayside in a big way, failing to defend his 50-meter free and 100 fly titles, and he didn't even get the chance to properly defend them in the finals. He lost in the semis after day 1, by the way, which saw Caleb win his 8th gold. I don't think his flameouts in those 2 events will taint his legacy, but Anthony, disappointing in a big, big way.
It's definitely disappointing because of this is a situation where you are a victim of your own success. And Caleb Dressel, the performance he had in Japan in 2020, 2021, which was obviously record breaking with the five gold medals. It was going to be really hard to live up to that anyway, considering he had to take some time off. He was struggling to kind of get back to the form that he had 3 years ago. To walk away with a couple of medals, nonetheless, is still a pretty impressive feat for any Olympian. But when you talk about the high standard that Dressel set on himself, and just not in a couple of the events, the 100-meter butterfly, finishing fifth. That is a big disappointment. He still walked away with 2 gold medals, 4x100 freestyle and a 4x100 mixed relay. So it's still something to take away from, at least to build on. If he comes back in 2028 in Los Angeles to compete again, but I definitely think this is a step down. Just as far as if you're going to compare the performance in Paris compared to Japan, when he just came out of nowhere and became kind of the face of the 2020 Summer Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for him, guys. I mean, Anthony, you profiled him for our Olympic preview show. I mean, like you guys said, he left Tokyo, 5 gold medals across the individual and team relay events. And there were such high hopes and high expectations that, Paris would be his summer games on the men's side of the pool. It's, left Paris with 3 medals, which is great. None of them, though, in those 2 individual events where he was expected to reach the podium. Rabbi said, failed to even advance to the finals in the 100-meter fly, where he won gold in Tokyo and finished 6th in the 50-meter free. Granted, a solid part of the relay team, 3rd straight Olympic gold medal in the 4x100 free, another gold in the mixed 4x100 meter medley. He got that by swimming in the semis. Wasn't part of the team that swam the finals. His 3rd medal, first Olympic silver of his career, 4x100 meter medley, only individual medal. And despite these Paris games not being the pinnacle of his swim career in terms of medals, especially individual ones, I think the fact that he was able to share this experience with his son will be a lasting good memory for him. Based on this quote that I read, having my son in the stands was really special. Getting to hold him, just bringing him onto the pool deck. It's a part of my life that I've had for 22 years, and I get to bring him into that realm. Based solely on that quote, this is a man who would seem to have his life priorities in order. And in that regard, he's very much a gold medalist.
All right. So this is a positive show, and I am a very positive person. So let's get back to this. Well, that's what the cue card said over here. If I write it, it must be true. Must be true. But let's get back to some positives. And Leon Marchand's Olympics for France in the pool was, as the natives say, très magnifique. All of his individual events, well, there were gold, 4 in total. The first time since a guy named Phelps went 4 individual golds in one Olympiad. And let me tell you this, one of the coolest moments of the Olympics that kind of has gone by the wayside was in studio live, Michael Phelps watching Marchand win, I believe, gold number 3.
Yes.
And just getting excited, saying, let's effing go. And that is how you know that a legend is recognizing a legend. Just saying. It's so much fun to see. 2 individual medals in one day, the 200 breaststroke and butterfly. That's the first male to do it in a century and a quarter. Not a quarter of a century and a quarter. If you do something that was last done by a guy on the male side named Frederick Lane to be accurate, in the year 1900, you're a legend. The only thing that can slow him down for France is U.S. naturalization in 2028. And since he's going to Arizona State, I'm starting the campaign, Jay. Let's go. Recap his Olympics for me.
You told us all we needed to know about this guy in our Olympic preview show, Rabbi. I mean, the dude was positively Phelpsian in Paris. And not just because he trained with Bob Bowman, who coached Phelps. Those 4 golds and 1 bronze, a whole host of Olympic records. 400-meter IM, 200-meter IM, 200-meter fly, 200-meter breaststroke, set new Olympic records in each of those individual events en route to those 4 goals. Last 2 within a couple of hours of each other, the first swimmer to ever pull that off. And here's the thing, nothing he did in Tokyo had anyone thinking he'd do all of this in his own home pool. But, you know, guys, that's what makes the Olympics so special, when someone we never saw coming does the unexpected in such a grand fashion.
And to do it in your own backyard too.
Yeah.
I think that's the most impressive thing. I mean, for he just stepped up to it, winning in every event. The 4x100 relay, the breaststroke, like everything, 2 in 1 night. And yeah, I did see the clip of Michael Phelps in studio as that race was going on.
Yep, had his hand on Mike Tirico's shoulder. He was like,
yeah. I think that's the hardest that Mike Tirico has taken in years at this point. And he's a guy who's been in the NFL for a very, very long time. But yeah, when you think about this, he's 22 years old, and you think about what he can build on, and take from this performance in France and in 4 years in Los Angeles. It's going to be really interesting to see how he can how do you possibly top this performance? I mean, you just talked about Dressel kind of failing to live up to the high bar he set for himself just 3 years ago. Leon Marchand, I mean, to be able to do all this, to rise up to the occasion, but to do it and represent your home country in your backyard with the home crowd now and the home field advantage behind you, it's just another impressive feat in itself.
Absolutely. So let's continue on with the domination. Barring any shockers, Canada's Summer McIntosh will be in her 3rd Olympics in 2028, and she will not even be a year over legal drinking age. Insane. What she did before her 18th birthday is as follows: 3 golds, 1 silver, opening night in the 400 freestyle, and the woman who says it was her dream to get on top of the Olympics podium got it again and again and again in the 200 butterfly and the 200 and 400 IMs. She was Canada's most decorated athlete in these games, and my friends, he's got at least 1 or 2 more in him, Anthony.
Yeah, we talked about Katie Ledecky being the most decorative women's swimmer. We might be watching the heir apparent. McIntosh just turning 18 recently. When you're 17, when you just turn 18-year-old and your bucket list includes 4 gold medals. Oh, by the way, being a flag bearer for Canada in the closing ceremony of the Olympics, and you pretty much win half of your country's gold medal totals, walking away from Paris. That's a lot you can brag about at 18 before you're even legally allowed to drink in most places. But yeah, Summer McIntosh, she just one of the many young athletes we were watching the last 3 weeks. Perform beyond their years, basically, against some really tough competition. And, you know, I guess, I made a joke before we went on there about Quincy Wilson going back to school, being a gold medalist. Imagine being Summer McIntosh, and you have 4 of them, and you carry the flag for your country and have to go, but you have to go back to school. That's a humble brag you have to have over your classmates pretty much the rest of the school year.
The best what I did on summer vacation that you could probably have, eh?
That's hilarious. Rabbi, you called this, man. Our Olympic preview show. The term wonderkind often gets thrown around a lot, especially at the Olympics, because we always seem to see so many of them. But I mean, it's an apt moniker for McIntosh. 2 Olympic records among those 3 gold medals. Watching her battle, Katie Ledecky and Ariane Titmus was just awesome. You see the past, the present, and the future kind of like all in one setting, and then she goes and blitzes the field in the 400-meter IM, winning the race by more than 5 seconds over USA's Katie Grimes, who took the silver. Then the 200-meter fly, which I learned was the same event that her mom, Jill, swam for Canada at the '84 Summer Games in LA. She sets one of those new Olympic records. And then she runs down American Alex Walsh in the final 50 meters of 200 IM. There was a piece in the Athletic that put McIntosh's performance in Paris in historical perspective, and I found it really interesting. First Canadian athlete to win 3 individual gold medals at a single Olympics, summer or winter. 11th female swimmer to win 3 individual gold medals in a single games, joining, among others, Ledecky and American legend Janet Evans. McIntosh matched her fellow Maple Leaf, Penny Alexiak, hope I said that right, for most medals by a Canadian swimmer at a single Olympics with 4 total. It's also the most medals by a Canadian at a Summer Olympics. Among Canadian Olympians, summer or winter, McIntosh's 4 medals at a single Olympics are second to long track speed skater Cindy Klassen's 5. Rabbi, as you said, she's barely going to be 21 years old when the Olympics, come back to LA in 2028. Those summer games could very well be Summers games. She'll only be 25 in 2032 in Brisbane and 29 when the 2036 games roll around. Who knows how many medals she'll rack up by the time it's all said and done, guys.
When she's 30, by the way, before you can actually name wherever the hell the 2036 Olympics are going to be. That's pretty awesome. By the way, fun fact, even though she is only turning 21, Tom Cruise is finding the aging cream to make sure he looks younger than that when the 2028 Olympics open up in Los Angeles, because, he's got to just look good and do his own stunts for the camera, because that's what Tom Cruise does. All right, let's wrap up the pool and talk about the American Olympic standouts. Tori Husk ended up with 3 gold medals and 2 silvers, anchoring the U.S. in the final event of the Olympics, winning the 4x100 relay. Gretchen Walsh, who finished second to Husk in the 100 butterfly, helping the women get 2 relay world records en route to a 2 gold, 2 silver Olympics. Kate Douglas, 2 S's, the pride of Pelham, New York, who also had 2 of those first and second place colors, highlighted with an American record in the 200-meter breaststroke. She won gold there. And then Regan Smith, where she just took 5 medals, helping for those 2 relay golds and 3 silvers, all individual. All right, Jay, which one of those 4 impressed you the most?
I got to tell you, the next generation of USA women's swimming would appear to be in pretty good hands, with Husk, Walsh, Douglas, and Smith. I mean, combining for 18 medals, including 9 golds, each of them getting at least 2 golds, Husk getting 3. Each of them took home at least 2 silvers, with Smith getting 3. I said to you guys on our NFL training camp show that Husk and Walsh going 1-2 in the 100-meter fly was my favorite moment of the opening week of the games, especially with the heartbreak that Husk endured in Tokyo, missing the podium by 1/100th of a second. To see her take home 3 golds in Paris was really, really cool. Walsh and Husk, along with Smith and Douglas, powering the U.S. women's relay teams to multiple goals while winning individual medals along the way. I mean, as you said, Rabbi, the fact that Douglas is a New Yorker, proud of Pelham, Westchester County, just a little bit north of where I am in the Bronx, means we can quite literally claim her as one of our own. I mean, it was a real treat to watch, this next generation have such a standout games in the pool. It was a whole lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on what you said. Douglas being a New Yorker. By the way, University of Virginia. That's something my sister-in-law would definitely.
Oh my God! Did they dominate?
But yes, watching the next generation of Olympic swimmers for Team USA really have me excited for the next couple of years, including World Championships. So I'm definitely excited, looking forward to it. And hey, this weekend if I have time, I'm going back to Peacock and watch some of these events again. I mean, because you know what it is? It's the fact that if you watch prime time special coverage, it didn't do it justice. They're watching the actual coverage. No. And we'll talk about the gymnastics segment about that. But yeah, which is definitely the future is really bright for Team USA swimming.
Yeah, I want to talk about that actually in just a second. I'll talk about it at the end of this next segment. As advertised, guys, Gymnastics did what they've been doing for most of this century on the floor. That's DOMINATION, domination. The women obviously taking center stage, and Simone Biles deservedly takes nothing but center stage. She's the first ever woman to get herself a second all-around gold And she now has the most medals of any gymnast in history with 11, at a team gold, a vault gold, a floor exercise silver. And I need to question why ESPN only made her the 7th best athlete of the 21st century in a thing that got released in July. By the way, it was released before this, but who knows? Jay, the woman has the accomplishments of a team of gymnasts, and fuck around and find out. She's only 27 years old.
I agree with you on that. And, I don't think she could have gone wrong with either nickname. But since Anthony had the profile for our preview show, I'm going to let him talk about
Okay, that's fine. You should actually tell me who goes first in these segments so I don't look like a fucking idiot and I fuck around and find out, but that's all right.
Hey,
Go ahead, Anthony.
It allows us to work in multiple instances.
Go ahead
around and find out.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, well, Michaela Skinner fucked around and found out, and what that led to. But yeah, Simone Biles. What can I say? There's a meme going around where she's kind of, it looked like she's still off in distance and kind of make a quick turn to the camera. That's kind of that was the most symbolic thing of I'm that woman. I don't think there ever was. Look, Simone Biles, she silenced every critic, every doubter for the last few years. Clinton, 8 Olympic medal her story career. Individual, team. I don't know what else more you can say about Simone Biles at this point. I mean, she has moves named after her. She has 11 Olympic medals, including 7 gold now. 4 medals total in Paris. Like I said, I think we've run out of words to describe the brilliance of Simone Biles at this point. And the thing is, I think when we started, we might have ran out of words to describe her brilliance. She does what she did in Paris, and still wows us even more. So even a floor routine gaffe where she stepped out of bounds clearly didn't diminish her dominant performances in the Olympics.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. Give me a second, guys. I gotta scroll back up. We got a lot to talk about tonight, man. We got a lot going on. Just when you think, she couldn't add anything else to her GOAT resume, besides that necklace she was wearing. She becomes just the second woman to win 2 all-around golds at an Olympics, the first to do so in non-consecutive summer games, leaves Paris 3 golds, 1 silver, increasing her career haul to 7 golds, 2 silvers, 2 bronze. By winning the all-around and the vault title, as well as leading the USA to the team gold, her 11 total Olympic medals ties her with Vera. I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Vera Kozlowska as the second most decorated female Olympic gymnast ever. And she now has the most Olympic medals of any U.S. gymnast ever. The GOAT is the GOAT for a reason, guys. And she did not disappoint. She's come so far from that 16-year-old we first met at the Rio Games and has been through so much. And if this is it for the now 27-year-old after the Paris Games, well, we've all been privileged to witness her rising from the ashes of Tokyo like a phoenix and reclaiming her spot in the Mount Rushmore of USA Olympic women's gymnastics. Speaking of her age, I did find it hilarious that she felt compelled to publicly apologize to her Rio team captain, Aly Raisman, for calling her grandma back in 2016, especially since Raisman was just 22 at the time. And prior to Biles winning golds in Paris, was the previous holder for the oldest U.S. gymnast to win a gold medal title. But, a hell of a, if this is it, if this was the swan song, hell of a way to go out for Biles.
There's still a lot more in USA Gymnastics. I would like to see Simone Biles back in some way, shape, or form in 28, but you know what? It's all gravy for her. Now she could just go back to being a football wife of Jonathan Owens as the Chicago Bears season begins in just a few weeks. Hey, Owens did the favor for her going over to Paris, and thank God the Bears allowed her to do that. All right. There's only one Suni Lee literally and figuratively. If you're a Suni Lee out there, sorry, but this is the one we're talking about. Whether it be helping the bringing of Team Gold back to the United States, or a bronze in the all-around, making her the first woman since Nadia Trader-Comaneci won in all-around in 1 year, and then made the podium the next cycle. Or maybe it's another bronze in the uneven bars for Suni Lee. A woman, Jay, whose gymnastics future was in doubt not too long ago, did pretty well for herself in Paris.
Yeah, and I don't think Hollywood could have scripted Suni Lee's Olympic comeback much better. I invariably become a fan of a team I do the scout on for our various postseason shows. And that holds true for athletes I do the profile on for shows like our Olympic preview. So as much as I was looking forward to seeing Simone Biles do Simone Biles things, I was really rooting for Suni Lee to have a good showing after learning and talking about what she went through in the lead up to the Paris Games. To see her win 3 medals, gold from the team final, all around bronze, bars bronze, was really cool. Now with her 6 career Olympic medals, Lee's put herself on the list of the all-time greats. Only Biles with 11 and Shannon Miller with 7 have more total Olympic medals. She's only 21 years old. If she decides to compete in LA, she could very well add to her total. When she was interviewed afterwards, she said she was happy with how these games went for her, even if they may have ended on a bit of a down note by not medaling on the beam. But she was proud of herself since she didn't think she'd even be here after getting diagnosed with not 1, but 2 kidney diseases. We always talk about how the Olympics gives us a chance to see world-class athletes doing amazing things in their sport. Some of them doing it after suffering some kind of setback. Suni Lee's Olympics was the epitome of this. Like I said, Hollywood couldn't have scripted it much better.
Just one word to describe Suni Lee. I would say warrior, because to battle back from what she had to go through, and my oldest brother, he had a real kidney illness when he was younger, and to come back from that and just to live a normal life, but let alone to, in Suni Lee's case, to compete on the highest level and to be back on the grandest stage at the Olympics and to walk away with 3 more medals to add to her total, including a goal. I think it's the victory in itself to be back into it. But here she is, she's back. She'll be back to competing for the University of Auburn again. But to just see her back doing what she loves to do in its entirely, I think it's one of the better happy endings you couldn't script. But to walk away with some Olympic hardware kind of just adds the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, now let's truly F around and find out. The U.S., by the skin of their... Oh, what am I kidding? The Team Gold went back to the U.S. like they had it as a birthright. It's the 3rd time in 4 Olympiads that the U.S. women's team finished first. And yes, with all respect to Russia not being there, the U.S. has been dominating this for a very long period now, Anthony.
Yeah, anytime you have been dominant in an event for so long that you can actually reserve a nickname and then announce it afterwards, it just says a lot about what Team USA Gymnastics has been able to do on the women's side. And whether it was, you think about this event and how I'm old enough to remember Carrie Strong in '96 winning a base on 1 foot, Mary Lou Ray. I mean, it just goes on and on with this particular event and Team USA women's gymnastics. It's almost like it's like the signature hallmark for for USA Gymnastics. It's like it's the event that a lot of people, when it's even during the day or in prime time, people would tune into. And Team USA just crushed it. I just from top to bottom. I mean, it just what Melody just said about this is the fact that and Simone Biles being the older statesman, and I hate to say it in that way for a 27-year-old, but also the fact that in the weeks leading up to it, after the comments made by Michaela Skinner sticking up for her teammates, showed a lot of leadership, and that's something that I'm quite sure stuck with the rest of the girls, and they performed. They all nailed it. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going to talk about the legacy of USA women's basketball later in the show, but the USA women's gymnastics team has a similar legacy. I mean, Anthony, you kind of alluded to it. The 2024 Paris team joins the 96 Atlanta team, the 2012 London team, the 2016 Rio teams on the list of gold medal winners and cool nickname owners: Magnificent Seven, Fierce Five, Final Five, the Golden Girls, which became the PG-13 nickname for the 2024 squad, respectively. They're also four-time silver medalist: 84, 04, 08, 2020, three times bronze, 48, 92, and 2000. Think about this, guys. This means that since the century turned, they've been on the podium in every Summer Olympics. And to do that, it's more than just legends like Biles, Allie Raceman, Shannon Miller, or Nastia Lukin carrying all the water, guys. That's the entire team. Your Jordan Childs, your Jade Carries, your Suni Lees, even Hesley Rivera, bringing their A game for an entire Olympiad. It's pretty damn impressive what they've done.
All right, so that's the good, and now we get to the part of the show where we have to talk about the individual floor exercise events. But first, the good. Rebecca Andrade was given the "we're not worthy" treatment after winning the floor exercise individual event by silver medalist and bronze medal. We'll get to that next, but that thing doesn't take from that gold and two silvers that Rebecca won in Paris. All hail Brazil's most decorated Olympian of all time. Not Olympic gymnast, Olympian of all time, Jay. 6 medals in all for Miss Andrade.
Yeah, I mean, Rabbi, you said, the 25-year-old Brazilian gymnast was one to watch, and you were spot on. As someone who has suffered through an ACL injury and the subsequent rehab, I have some idea of what she's been through, having torn an ACL not once, not twice, but 3 times, 2015, 17, and 2019, in order to even have a chance to get up on the Olympic podium. These are the types of stories that makes me want to pay attention to Olympic athletes that are not from the USA, and to see the absolute joy on her face after she won a silver on the vault, and then again after she beat Simone for the gold on the floor, was just inspiring. I mean, in that photo of Biles and Jordan Childs, bowing, to Andrade on the podium, was just a terrific show of sportsmanship, respect, and Olympic spirit, as well as, it shows you how well she is received in the International Olympics, international gymnastics community. I mean, Biles hugged her when she saw that, she had won the gold. If not for Biles, who casts a ridiculously large shadow for someone just 4'8", the world might know a lot more about Andrade, who has 15 gymnastics medals between the Olympics and the World Championships. Hell, even Simone said that while she's happy for Rebecca, she's tired of competing against her. I mean, Biles said it with a smile on her face, but that's pretty high praise from the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I mean, but we think about this, Rebecca Andrade is probably the most decorative gymnast in the world, not named Simone Biles, if you look at it. And I will hope that people see Andrade this past Olympics and kind of pay more attention to her career accolades and what she's been able to do, because obviously you see, it's always great to see athletes from other parts of the world competing in the Olympics. And Andrade, like I said, that moment of Biles and Charles kind of bowing, we're not worthy moment. It was great sportsmanship. It's a great feel good moment.
Yeah.
And that should be what that should have been that should be the signature frame of Olympic competition, regardless of country or whatever background. Then the spirit of competition is just that, it's competition, but it's also goodwill among different backgrounds. And like I said, Andrade, she absolutely deserved that gold medal. Like I said, if Simone Biles is not around, we a lot of people be talking more about Andrade's brilliance.
Yeah. And that podium was amazing because it represented the first all African American podium in gymnastics history, and it was a really good moment. and nothing else happened in the individual floor exercise. Let's move on. We got our final. Okay. On to the elephant in the room that I can address in less than 1 minute and 4 seconds, Olympic Committee, and that is Jordan Chiles. After winning team gold, she was last.
Rabbi, hold up.
I'm changing it. Jay, I'm changing the order. This is a thing on the fly.
All right.
For God's sakes, it
You're
flips
throwing
into
me
it.
off here, man.
Don't do that to me. Okay. On to the element in the room that I can address in less than 1 minute and 4 seconds, and that is Jordan Chiles. After winning team gold, that Jordan was last to go in the last women's individual event of floor exercise, and she got a bronze after a last-second appeal on her routine scoring. Except after a Roman Olympic Committee appeal, that last second unfortunately happened 4 seconds late after the deadline, one that, by the way, was only there that 1 minute because she went last. So Chiles went from 5th to 3rd to 5th in the floor exercise in just a week. The Court Arbitration of Sport agreed with the Romanian appeal, but despite the Roman Olympic Committee asking for 3 bronze medals to be awarded, the other Romanian stepped out of bounds. According to them, that didn't actually get shown, and it was shown in the replay that she didn't step out of bounds. That's why they asked for 3 and not 2. The IOC has ordered that bronze, unfortunately, to be returned. We haven't returned it yet. The U.S. will keep fighting after the U.S. appeal to the appeal was rejected by the Court of Arbitration of Sport, also known as Because I Said So, Leave Us Alone. What a mess, guys. Who wants to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ant.
I'll go first. And by the way, I was just thinking about this movie when she was playing out. There's a movie in 2006 called Stick It. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Jeff Bridges is a fun movie, but it's about gymnastics. And one of the main themes of that movie was the rigid judging in gymnastics that kind of takes away from the sport in many ways. And this is just wrong on so many levels because Charles is being punished for an obvious mistake on the judge's part, and she's being punished when the easiest thing could have been just to split the gold medal, the bronze medal. Obviously, that would have made the situation a little better for all parties involved. But then you read about one of the members having a background of working for or working on behalf of Romania in the past, which clearly doesn't also make things any better because now they're bringing politics, the idea of politics into the situation. Look, we literally watched the U.S. men's skiing team just get gold medals 2 years after the fact because of
the skating team, yes, because of Russia's controversy, I would believe.
2 years ago, and it's like who knows how long it's going to take for this situation to be resolved. But you feel bad for Jordan Chiles, to basically go from a bronze medalist to have it taken away, and it's not, and the racist remarks that she had to go through on social media, which is absolutely uncalled for. It's embarrassing and despicable in itself. But and the thing is though is that when you look at this whole thing, it's no fault of the gymnasts. They did what they had to do. At the end of the day, the judging, the gymnastic judging has been kind of an issue for the longest. I'm watching the men's gymnast routines, and the only thing they're talking about is how many points get deducted. I'm like, wait a minute, they're talking about points deductions on routines that haven't even been completed yet, and that's just the thing now. And like I said, I want to hope that they overturn the decision and just split the bronze medals. That would probably be the easiest thing to do when you consider that there was a precedent for splitting medals. 2002, remember the French judge situation in ice skating. So there was a situation where they have split medals and even the Winter and Summer Olympics. And that would be the easiest situation to do in hell, but it just feels like it really feels like someone, you work hard for something and then have it taken away, or you feel cheated out of something you earned. And she said it right. It's not it just doesn't feel right that this happened. And 5 days after the fact, like I said, it just leaves a sour taste over what was a great Olympics for gymnastics overall.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that, Ant. I mean, uh, don't you just love it when something like this goes down and the supposed adults in the room, CAS, FIG, the IOC, pick your acronym for who deserves the most blame for utterly mishandling this. They do nothing but point fingers at each other and cover their own asses behind the letter of the law. Her coach got the appeal in on time in one interpretation, 4 seconds late in another. You talk about the judges, screwing this up from the get-go. The only ones who suffer are the individual athletes. Jordan Childs, based on the degree of difficulty of her routine, deserved that bronze medal. It is the black eye for the Paris Games, no matter how you slice it. And the fact that the recommendation that all three gymnasts get a bronze, a Solomon-like fair solution, in my humble opinion, was shot down, makes these adults look even worse. I could go on quite the lengthy rant here. Every article I've read about, related to this has just pissed me off more and more. But we don't have the time. It just sucks that Childs leaves these Olympics with the agony of defeat as the last taste in her mouth, as opposed to the thrill of victory.
The rules of gymnastics are stupid at some points, especially with appeals and all that other stuff. And judging is never the funnest in any sport, but we'll move on. All right. After a terrible qualifying round on the Saturday of the Olympics, the U.S. men, yes, they exist too, despite only contributing 35% to individual medals this Olympics. Sorry, guys, you get one segment here and one only. They got bronze in the men's team event. And despite the multiple efforts of Brody Malone, Fred Richard, and others, I love him, but Steven Nedorozic's only routine of the team event, the pommel horse, which just happened to be the last of the night, clinched the bronze. And along with his individual in pommel, by the way, the only U.S. male gymnast to medal in any of the disciplines. And oh yeah, the endless memes. I'm not going to go to sleep right now, but Steven Nedorozic, Jay, we'll start with you, has become a star.
Clark Kent became Superman. That might be overly simplistic, but when a guy who has a disease that renders his eyes permanently dilated, discards those glasses, walks up to the pommel horse after waiting over 2 hours as he was the last gymnast in the rotation. The memes of him resting his eyes were all over social media, and then he starts swinging, getting into his routine en route to a 4.866 score, worthy of a bronze medal, the first one that the USA men's gymnastics team has earned since 2008. And then he says afterwards that, quote, I don't need to see when I do pommel horse. It's all by feel. How can you not see the comparison? I mean, it was one of the best stories of the first week of the Paris Games, guys.
But by the way, 14.866, not 4.866. Just couldn't make the correction there.
And look, he's been called the Clark Kent, but when you can't see and you got those moves, he's more Daredevil Matt Murdock. Okay, I'm sorry, that's just pretty much what it is.
That works too.
Yeah, but you know what? His biggest impressive thing was being on the Tonight Show and solving the Rubik's Cube in 15 seconds. That is very impressive. It took me an hour to solve the Rubik's Cube in my fastest time. Okay, and that was after me preventing myself from throwing it through a glass window. But that's besides the point. Look, he's a charming individual. I mean, he looks like your next door neighbor, or the guy in high school who's going to offer you a ride to the class if the car breaks down. He just had one of those personalities. But to walk away with a medal and be the only male gymnast for Team USA to do it, is very impressive, and he's becoming a household name, and a meme in itself. But definitely, the Clark Kent, yeah, I get it because of the glasses, but he's gelled up with mine.
All right, it does. Let's finish this off for the interesting announcing. It is rare, ultra rare, to see one of the all-around winners, former teammates, actually on commentary for these games. But those were the musings of Lori Hernandez, who was really, really excited for some reason that Seth Rogen was at the Olympics, but not anybody else. I don't understand that. Okay, you heard her on the coverage of the women's meets, and Jay, pretty damn good job.
Yeah, as I said in text, to all of you guys, I absolutely loved listening to Lori Hernandez as the analyst for the live gymnastics event. I didn't even realize there was a different NBC team for the primetime curated version. Until until I actually had it on my TV in the lead up to our NFL training camp show last week. And no disrespect to Sam Pizak, but Lori's enthusiasm was infectious. I actually enjoyed seeing the fan in her come out alongside her technical knowledge, which taught me a few things, wobbling ankles, right, guys? And her insider insight as a member of the 2016 gold medal winning team provided some excellent background and context. It's rare that I come away both more knowledgeable and more enjoyable, as a witness to a certain Olympic event. But, Lori scored the double here with me with this. And I think the way she did things resonated with a lot of people who were able to watch the gymnastics events live as they actually happened during the afternoon.
Yeah, I would say this: if you have the option of watching on Peacock, do so, because Lori Hernandez, she was just a joy to listen to. She's just insightful. You can tell that she's the excitement and the joy and the fan in her voice while she's commentating. But also, if you follow her on social media, she's like a human smiling emoji. She's always smiling. She's always joyful. She's playful. She's always got a great feeling about her, and it showed in her commentary. Obviously, her being in that situation and knowing the technical skills and knowing everything about it definitely brought a lot to it. It reminded me of Tony Romo when he first started at CBS. And you take back to that memorable AFC title game between Kansas City and New England, where he's calling the plays before it actually happens. And then when it's playing out, he pretty much called out the New England Patriots' final drive in overtime in real time as if he was still in the quarterback room. And that's something we love to see. Just as much as we love to be entertaining and insightful, it's great to see analysts actually enjoy their job and they really have fun with it. And with Lori Hernandez, she definitely did a great job. I hope they bring her back as a commentator, whether it's World Championships, whether it's in Los Angeles in 2028. But yeah, I mean, she was just great. She just great to be on, to have on the TV set. She just have a great attitude about her that just resonates with the people around her.
I did the math. I worked backwards. She's just 24 years old. She was 16 in Rio. So, I mean, having that, that youthful exuberance kind of shine through. I really hope NBC has her on the call, for 2028 in LA, Anthony. Absolutely.
Two things before we wrap this up. Jay, if you also want more knowledge and stuff about gymnastics, just ask my wife. She'll tell you everything that you need to know on that. And Anthony, you mentioned Tony Romo when she started. Does that mean Tom Brady's going to do the same thing for Fox this year? I hope so, because he's going to be on the television way too much. So let's pray that he's not that annoying. Okay,
let's move on.
Yes, please. 34 medals and 14 gold, which is the most in a non-boycotted Olympics in over half a century for U.S. track and field. That's a pretty productive week at the Stade de France office. Noah Lyles, the best friend of every NBA player out there, just ask Twitter, found himself winning the fastest man alive by 0.005 of a second, or in technical terms, a torso. But after a few rough days health-wise, the 200, which was also favored for Noah, was only bronze for the American, sending out disappointment or happiness on X, whichever you choose. However, the world champion of only one event revealed he was battling COVID for 48 hours before and still had COVID during the race. All true, Anthony, but Noah, you might have put too much of a target on yourself to be up for this scrutiny while still being sick.
Yeah, what 3 things? Number one, he should be very fortunate he didn't pass COVID on to anyone else he had been around those 48 hours prior to the race. Who knows if he could have been still in this contagious phase at that point. Thankfully that did not happen. And look, I think we've all had COVID at some point. We know it's not a fun thing to deal with. And you finished with bronze and you were sick. Imagine you was healthy with a full set of lungs, what he could have done. But yeah, Noah Lyles, like he's a gold medalist, so we had to get that to him. But the thing is, when you put a target on your back the way he did, and even more so, we learned after all that with the situation with Adidas and Anthony Edwards, Sneaker Party, whatever the case is, he's come out and denied that happened. Whatever the case is, and I know he's not going to be a friend of Josh Hart anytime soon because he came out and admitted he was
Josh
hoping
Hart,
to lose.
But Josh Hart did say afterwards, I respect him and I can't give him shit for winning the 100 after he failed at the 200. So he gave Josh his respect after that.
Yeah, and the thing is, Noah Lyles is the world's fastest man in the Olympic gold medalist. So you can't knock him for that, even if you're not a fan of the personality and the motor mouth that he may have developed over the last couple of years. And give him credit for being a nice boyfriend because apparently he borrowed some
2 a.m. run, yep.
Yeah, and 2 a.m. run, he borrowed something from his girlfriend, he gave it back. And, hey, look, if you're a great boyfriend, girlfriend, and you live up to it, I gotta give you credit for that. I'm single, so I wouldn't know anything about that. But Noah Lyles, look, I'm happy for the guy. I hope, like I said, COVID. I hope he's feeling a lot better. But I wish he would just tone it down a little bit with the chatter, because I think he's an amazing athlete. He deserves to be able to be celebrated for the gold medal that he does have and the bronze medal that he won while sick. But you can't feel bad for him if people were sitting around hoping he would flop so that they have something to talk about on social media, and if they don't exactly endear themselves to him, at least for the foreseeable future. But I hope it's less of this and more of continuing to show everyone why you're one of the world's greatest athletes.
I got to tell you, I mean, on certain, some of his like comments and social media posts, I mean, I swear in a lot of ways, his mouth walked things backwards as fast as his feet took him forwards in certain instances. I mean, he was destined to be a big story or a cause for drama at these Olympic Games, regardless of how he performed due to how much he talked himself up in the lead up to the Paris Games. And he was all of that. I mean, he wins the 100 meters by 5,000th of a second, or as Rabbi said, a torso in the closest men's 100 meter final ever. I mean, he needed to go to the photo to determine the finish, by running that race in 9.78 seconds. It was the fastest time in an Olympic 100 meter final since Usain Bolt ran a still Olympic record 9.36 seconds in London in 2012. Then he takes the bronze in the 200 meter final, which is actually his better event and the one he was expected to win gold in, and then is taken out of the stadium in a makeshift wheelchair. He runs an unlike Lyles 19.70, finishing behind Botswana's Leslie Tebogo, who won the gold with a time of 19.46, and his USA teammate Kenny Bednarek, who ran a 19.62 to take the silver. Minutes later, while wearing a mask, he tells Lewis Johnson of NBC that he was diagnosed with COVID 2 days before the race. I mean, this basically meant the end of his Olympics, as he wasn't able to be part of the men's 4x100 relay team. Now, look, I get, unlike Tokyo, athletes didn't have to disclose a positive COVID test, and it doesn't disqualify them from their chosen event, but it just adds to the drama that seems to constantly surround Lyles. At the end of the day, despite the fact that his ego wrote some checks that his body couldn't cash, the hardware, he got what he wanted, the hardware, and to make himself into a household name. As he said on his Instagram after deciding that he wasn't going to be able to run the 4x100 with the relay team, here's the quote: "It is not the Olympics I dreamed of, but it has left me with so much joy in my heart. I hope everyone enjoyed the show. Whether you were rooting for me or against me, you have to admit you watched, didn't you?" Yeah, you got me, Noah. I have to admit it. Each time you ran, I watched. Damn him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's about it. I really have nothing to say about that, only just because of the fact. Now, one thing I did notice is I had heard in doing research for this that Lewis Johnson, the reporter for track and field, did report this 2 days prior, and what Noah was giving was a confirmation, and there were signs of this. And I think the Olympic Committee would have. That's what I've heard, and I think the Olympic Committee would have done something about this if this was done. So I think everything was done with the letter of the law. But again, because social media, we're all doctors. So let's go on. The saying, taking the ball and running with it?
Yep.
Well, the U.S. men's 4x100 team has a habit of taking the baton and not running with it or dropping it. It's a motto. Thanks to a bad handoff from Christian Colvin to Kenny Bednarik, the U.S. 4x100 men's relay team's race was DQ'd even before the second leg got going. If this seems to be an outlier, spoiler alert, it's not. A fall of this event in 2008, a doping positive in 2012, a botched handover in 2016, not even qualifying for the final 3 years ago. An event where the U.S. is pretty much the most dominant in Olympic history is also an event that the U.S. has not medaled in since 2004. Track and field legend Carl Lewis said about this, "No athlete should step on the track and run another relay until this program is changed from top to bottom." And legend Michael Johnson called the whole thing laughable for the BBC. Yeah, this, my friends, is no laughing matter. Except Jay, it kind of is.
Go ahead, Ant.
Yeah,
go ahead, Anthony.
It's a following. Yeah, it is kind of laughable that this keep happening to the men's side. I mean, we talk about the women's side in a minute, but the men's side, it's almost like a roll call of missteps with this program. And I'm with the legends, Michael Johnson and Carl Lewis, who've been there. They've done it, and there's gotta be something top to bottom that changes, whether it's as far as preparation, whether it's picking the athletes themselves or who's going to be on a relay team, who's going to be on a first leg, second leg. And when you can't compete something as simple as a handoff of the baton, in junior high school, I ran track and I was on a relay team. I was the second leg.
You should be an expert for the 2028 Olympics if that's the case, then, and you should be the men's handoff specialist if that's the case.
Well, I was a baton handler and a ball handler, so trust me, the most nerve-wracking thing I had was handling both, or even handing off to someone else while they're moving. And that is a fundamental game that has to be worked on time and time and time again, to the point where it's repetition, it's memory, it's instinct. And the fact that they work on this all the time and you screw it up again, this is not a first time. And I'm with Carl Lewis. Something has to change for 2028. Whether it is maybe going over what's the best combination for this relay team as far as first leg, second leg, third leg, who brings it home. Because generally, and we saw it with 17-year-old Owen, the 17-year-old, I mentioned his name earlier, it kind of set my mind. He ran the first leg, but it was a reason for that. He's young. He still has to build up his speed. Whereas the rest of the team was able to pick up the rest of the pieces and win that race. Something has to be done as far as this event, because since 2000 they haven't medaled. That is a very
2004.
long time. Constantly
2004.
2004. That is 20 years of screwing this event up somehow in some capacity. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of self-reflecting that has to be done with this portion of track and field.
Yeah, I mean, Rabbi, you kind of nailed it perfectly with your intro. What is it about the act of passing a baton that the U.S. men's 4x100 relay team just cannot seem to get right? I mean, they haven't won a medal since 2004 when Sean Crawford, Justin Gatlin, Colby Miller, and Maurice Green took silver in Athens. They haven't managed to do it despite having some of the best sprinters in the world come through this program. Watching it happen live was like seeing a train wreck about to happen. You want to look away, but you just can't, even knowing that it's going to end so very badly. That's what it was like seeing the collision between Christian Coleman and Kenny Bednarik, who seemed to slow down so much that Coleman crashed right into the back of him. Bednarik, the 200-meter silver medalist, had to run his leg after an almost complete stop. I mean, I knew the USA was pretty much doomed at that point in terms of any chance of medaling. The fact that after the race, it was ruled that the baton handoff happened outside of the exchange zone and thus disqualified the relay team just added insult to injury. You guys talked about it. Track and field legend Carl Lewis raging on Twitter afterwards that the USA needs to completely blow up whatever system determined who runs the 4x100, just added a layer of drama to the whole affair. And the fact that the U.S. men's 4x400 team and all of the USA women's relay teams crushed things didn't exactly help matters either.
Well, let's talk about that crushing. Fortunately, the U.S. had a better secret in the 4x400 men's relay, and that secret is Rai Benjamin. Rai Benjamin held off Botswana's Leslie Tebogo. We talked about him before. He was the 200-meter champ in these games in what was basically a virtual sprint to win gold in this event for the red, white, and blue. Couple that with a pretty dominant 400-meter hurdles, righting the silver wrong in that event from Tokyo. And Jay, there's nobody badder in these Olympics on the men's side, in a good way, than Rai Benjamin.
Yeah. Benjamin ran his personal best time of 46.17 in the 400-meter hurdles in Tokyo. But that was only good enough for the silver, as you said, Rabbi, as Norway's Karsten Warholm ran a world and Olympic record of 45.94 to take the gold. Now, Benjamin took a step back at the 2023 World Championship, managing just a bronze, as Warholm once again took gold. But in Paris, Benjamin finally got the better of his rival. He only ran a 46.46, but that was good enough to finally put the gold medal around his neck. But Benjamin was not done. He showed the world that he can run 400 meters without hurdles, and he beat the fastest men in the world while doing it. He ran the anchor leg for the USA's 4x400 meter relay team against 200-meter champ Leslie Tebogo, as you said, Rabbi, of Botswana, who ran his gold medal race in 19.4 seconds. Benjamin kept Tebogo at bay all the way to give the U.S. the gold, their 9th in these last Olympics in this event. It's a hell of a Paris Games for Ray Benjamin. He showed the world that he is one bad man at 400-meter distance, whether he's hurdling or sprinting.
Yeah, Rabbi, you and I, we have been witnesses to the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour. This is the Ray Benjamin Revenge Tour. Going into Paris, building off what happened in Tokyo World Championships to finally get gold in both the 400-meter hurdle and the 4x400 relay. Is the cherry on top what was a great and dominant performance by him. By the way, a Westchester County native, Mount Vernon, New York. His dad played cricket, which I just something interesting. I was just looking this up on Google. So from the West Indies represented. So this is, like I said, it's just something. The little things you find out about some of these Olympic athletes is what make their stories become all the more compelling and fascinating. Yep. So this is, like I said, Benjamin. It just so that hey, that's one bad mother. I better shut my mouth here. But you get where I'm trying to go.
Said the F word way too many times tonight. Hey guys, good news for Carl Lewis. The U.S. women are definitely allowed to step on the track again and again and again. giving the men a hard bar to clear, which, as you heard earlier, the men slipped under. The U.S. ladies won the 4x100 relay as Sha'Carri Richardson got the first gold of her Olympic career and the first beam of her Olympic career as well, running anchor. And in the 4x400, back-to-back 400-meter hurdle champion Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has no time for your close BS. A 47.7-second 400-meter split, which, by the way, beat any other split by 1 full second of any of the other 31 racers in that race, turned the race into what we like to call the Katie Ledecky special, in which no one else but you is in the frame. And oh yeah, Gabby Thomas got the baton after SML and made sure that she has some extra gold to match the 200-meter 24-karat gold accessory that she got earlier in the week. Rye Benjamin is bad. These girls are badder. Anthony?
Oh my God, are they ever? Yeah, let me take this one.
Let's go with Jay first.
I can't remember seeing the USA women's track team just dominate on both the individual and team level in the same Olympic Games the way they did in Paris. Started with Sha'Carri Richardson. Rabbi's right. I profiled her for our Olympic preview show. She came up short in the 100 meters, 10.87, only good enough for silver. But the USA put 2 on the podium as Melissa Jefferson's 10.92 got her the bronze. But running the anchor leg for the US women in that 4x100, Richardson took the baton from Gabby Thomas, and she showed why she was the #1 ranked sprinter in the world coming into Paris. US was 4th with 90 meters to go, but by the time there were 20 meters to go, the rest of the field was firmly in her wake. Her blazing 10.09 time gave the US back the gold it lost in Tokyo. And speaking of Gabby Thomas, Harvard grad, one of 3 female Americans to win at least 3 golds in Paris, and she did it in 3 different track lengths. On top of the gold as part of the 4x100 meter relay team, blew away the field in the 200 meters with a blistering time of 21.83, becoming the first American woman to win the Olympic 200 meters since the legendary Allyson Felix in London in 2012. Completed her to-do list by running the 3rd leg of the 4x400 relay and increasing the lead built by Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone to the point that when Thomas handed the baton to Alexis Holm for the anchor leg, there was no one else anywhere near her. As I said to you guys on text, Holmes could have walked home and the US would still have won gold. As it was, they won by 4 seconds, and their time of 3:15.27, 1/10 of a second off the world record. Rabbi, you talked about, SML. All she did, defend her Olympic gold in the 400-meter hurdles, breaking the world record for the 6th time with a mark of 50.37 seconds. Race was over after the first 200 meters. She became the first woman to ever repeat as Olympic champion of the 400-meter hurdles. That history-making turn in her preferred event would have been enough for anyone. But as we know, Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone isn't just anyone. Running the 2nd leg of that 4x400 relay, took the baton from Shamir Little, who had just run the opening leg in 49.98, the only sub 50-second time in the opening leg of that race. And after that, no other country stood a chance. Best 400-meter hurdler in the world, ran her leg in 47.7. You want some perspective? Marilady Polino of the Dominican Republic won gold in the women's 400-meter final, running an Olympic record time of 48.17. McLaughlin-Levrone, who had to wait for a baton handoff, ran faster. In a discipline, she only runs as part of a relay. That just it boggles my mind. When you add in Anna Cockrell taking the silver in the 400-meter hurdles, Brittany Brown taking the bronze in the 200 meters, and Melissa Jefferson taking the bronze in the 100 meters, stem to stern, the USA women track team had one hell of an Olympic Games in Paris, Anthony.
Absolutely. Team USA women in general crushed it in Paris. 67 combined medals. That would have been 3rd if it was a separate country in itself. But let me tell you how the women just won it. SML, it seems like every week she sets a world record and breaks her own record easily. But redemption stories is what I love. And Sha'Carri Richardson, after what happened what led to her missing the Tokyo Olympics, and even some of the stuff away from the track and field that kept her in our headlines for all the wrong reasons a couple of years, to be able to come back, to make her Olympic debut, walk away with a silver medal, but that 4x100 relay with her one, so her biggest fan, notable artist Cardi B in attendance, she took that fight, that ankle leg, and she just killed it. And somebody need to blow up that picture of her looking back at, at the other sprinters and frame that for her, because that is going to be her symbolic moment for the rest of her Olympic career. It was like she literally just took off, and this is like, okay, this is the Sha'Carri Richardson we were all waiting for, that we were hoping to see in Tokyo, that we knew it was there, and we were just hoping. We just was thinking if she could just get focused, it's there, and we was able to finally see it. But the 4x400 relay, you talking about Gabby Thomas, Alyssa Holm, and Shamia Little. I doubt I've never seen a more dominant race ran by a relay team. And all the years I've watched the Olympics, it was Saturday. I had just got back from Vegas, and my mom and I was watching it, and we were making a lot of noise with cheering, in part because we're excited, and we also can't. We also looking when the camera zoomed out, there wasn't another sprinter in the picture. It was just unbelievable. And I was like, look, the women absolutely crushed it in Paris. There was just no more else I can say about that.
Rabbi, I got to tell you that the one thing that like stood out for me, and I just recalled it now, is right before the race started when the NBC team, including Sonia Richards-Ross and Otto Bolden, were talking about the order in which the women were going to run the 4x4. Sonia Richards-Ross she was wondering if it wasn't the right order, where because neither Gabby Thomas nor SML were set to run the anchor. They were in the middle. So she was wondering, she's like, I don't know about that. She did a huge mea culpa afterwards, after watching what she watched.
And Otto Bolden basically said maybe it's because Cindy is going to give her a big lead and the rest of the legs won't matter. And that is exactly what happened. By the way, shout out to Julian Alfred of St. Lucia,
yes,
winning the 100 meters and giving St. Lucia their first ever medal of any color. And it's gold, yes. And it's as the fastest woman alive. Sha'Carri Richardson finishing second, but that's a really cool story that does get lost in the shuffle a little bit. Okay.
Indeed.
What contributed to the excitement of week 2 of the Olympic Games is Cole Hocker. The man became a household name by winning the 1,500 meters after a late burst. Cole, who beat his personal best by over 3 seconds, gave the U.S. a 4th gold in this event. The last time was 2016, and the time before that was just before that in the year 1908. When you add Grant Fisher going bronze in the 5,000 and 10,000 meters, that was a distance running renaissance, guys, in 2024 for U.S. track and field.
Yeah, it's funny how all the talk ahead of the 1,500 meter final was about Great Britain's Josh Kerr and Norway's, Jacob. Hopefully I pronounce this correct. Ingebrigtsen. A rivalry that actually is more media driven than actual race driven. And funny how during the race, those two were so focused on each other that American Cole Hocker came up on the inside and beat both of them to collect the goal, while his teammate Yared Nuguse, the goose was loose, took the bronze. Kerr managed to get the silver, one step up the podium from his bronze finish in Tokyo, but Ingebrigtsen came in 4th, failing to medal despite breaking his previous Olympic record. This is the first time in a 1,500 meter final that 3 men ran 3:27 in the same race, and one of those men was not Norway's finest. Only one in the field who had previously broken the 3:28 barrier. Hocker's 3:27.65 beat Kerr by 0.14 of a second for goal, setting an Olympic record in the process. And Nuguse missed beating Kerr for the silver by 1/100th of a second. Kerr and Ingebrigtsen may be the alphas of the 1,500, but on this day, Team USA on the podium, guys.
Yeah, you know what? I was walking past Times Square, and there was and Nike had a couple of billboards, and Cole Hawker's the image pops up. It's so fast, never saw it coming. Just an amazing. It was just an amazing race, and probably the one event that made an entire Vegas casino stop in its tracks because literally
Wow.
everyone just got glued to see what was going on. And
I know I was. I
yeah,
watched it live.
yeah. Look, I was walking along the casino floor and just caught my eye, and I was like, oh, let me just stop and watch this. And as the race went on, everyone just stopped, and it just tells you what I said in the last show to see everyone actually pulling for USA and USA athletes because for a couple of years, and it felt like to me, it didn't really feel like we were rooting for our own athletes to actually want to do well. We were from to fail miserably. So it was good to see like a casino full of people gambling and spending them and throwing their money away. I was one of those, by the way. And to see Cole Hawker win gold in the 1,500-meter race, just an incredible. It's just an amazing story.
All right, guys, before we get out of track and field, let's show some love to Sweden. They're going to take all the Winter Olympic medals in Italy in 2026. So let's just give them their due right now. Sweden's Armando Duplantis won his gold with an Olympic record 6.1 meters in the pole vault. And then he just threw that Olympic record out and went to a world record of 6.24 meters with his next attempt. Impressive stuff, guys, for the first athlete to retain this pole vault title for the first time in 7 decades.
Yeah, guys, I don't know about you, but I normally don't pay too much attention to the pole vault. When it comes to track and field, I think I, like a lot of casual viewers who only really tune in during the Olympics, I'm sure, focus on the track half of the equation, like the sprints and the relays, followed by, the longer distances that we've been talking about. But I have to say that when I saw that Armando Duplantis of Sweden had already won the gold by clearing 6 meters, doing it in 4 jumps, but kept vaulting for no other reason than to set a new world record, I was hooked. I was watching this live. The way the stadium got behind him, the way American pole vaulter Sam Kendricks, who took the silver, stoked the crowd. It was phenomenal. On his 5th jump, Duplantis broke the world record of 6.1 meters. He could have stopped there. After all, he'd already owned the last 8 world records, but he didn't. On his final jump, cleared 6.25 meters. And the crowd just absolutely went nuts. A one-of-one athlete doing something that previously was not thought possible. I mean, that's why we tune into these games and watch events we normally don't pay attention to.
All right, guys, let's move on. Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
So I absolutely love and really. I can't pronounce his last name. Duplantis. Okay. Gold for the world record, even though he had already clinched gold, but he wasn't content. He wanted to, break the record, and it was just great to see. Because they got talked about on the show about the camaraderie that Olympic sports bring about the athletes, regardless of country and background, and that's an example of it. And let's be fair. The only reason why, besides this, Paul Walter was in the news was because of something that we really can't talk about because that would have to be for our after dark show. But
that was the reason why pole vaulting was in the news, not necessarily the vaulter himself. All right, let's go.
But I will say this though. I think Rasmus and Bang Brothers might be calling that individual in the next week or so.
All right.
What's on, Rabbi?
Let's continue. Jesus Christ. Last season on the episodes of the U.S. women's soccer team, August 6th, 2023, they suffered the worst ever result in the World Cup, losing in the round of 16 to Sweden. 1 year, 4 days later, August 10th, 2024, the U.S. became golden once again, winning 1-0 against Brazil, and the U.S. women became the Star-Spangled Banner superstars that we thought they would be on the women's pitch. The U.S.'s first gold for the Olympics for 2012 were due to 2 major things. First off, the triple play of, that's right, kids, Sabrina Carpenter, Eat Your Heart Out. This is the new triple espresso. Triple Espresso, the team of Sophia Smith, Mallory Swanson, and Trinity Rodman hit all the right notes and scored 10 of the 12 goals of this tournament, each of them responsible for the winning goal of each of the 1-0 knockout round games. And after beating Brazil in that 1-0 final, the U.S. has found the key pretty quickly to the next golden generation.
Go ahead, Ant.
Yeah, I would say this. And they should all be able to take a bow. I mean, you think about Smith, Rodman, and Swanson. They all went through a tough year, 2023. Swanson had the ACL injury and even an infection from that injury. Missed the World Cup. And had to work her way back into that. And her ability to create was definitely missed by Team USA last year in the World Cup. Sophia Smith had to recover from obviously missing a penalty kick that would have sent USA through to the next round, and Rodman had her ups and downs in that World Cup as well. But to see how the three gelled in that front line, and the fact that they were so interchangeable with their skill set, and we saw it on display, and all three young women had big goals in the last 3 matches for Team USA in the Olympics. Whether it was Rodman bending just enough to the far left post to beat Japan, or whether it was Sophia Smith scoring in extra time. In the gold medal game, Miles Swanson actually telling her teammate to not touch the pass because she was offside before she was able to find the back of the net. Would prove to be the winning goal. By the way, Alyssa Nair deserves an honorable mention here because she was once again money. She made a great one-handed save in extra time. Where it looked like Brazil had an opportunity to tie the game and maybe send it to penalty checks. But yeah, Triple Espresso, it's not just on the field, but off of it. Their personalities clearly mesh well together. By the way, 2 things. Number one, Fox Sports. At least learn to know who's who before you post a picture on national
Seriously.
TV. But number two, I think we know Trinity Rodman is the party animal of the three, and I kind of wonder where she gets that from. I don't know. You guys help me out. Her parental lineage, well, exactly that she could have gotten that from.
I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Hopefully she takes no trips to Vegas anytime soon.
For those of you who follow,
well, she can join the end up.
For those of you who follow the NBA, that is who you think he is. I got to tell you guys, this is the first time I've been this interested from a fan perspective in seeing what the first real post Alex Morgan era U.S. women's national team could do in an international competition. I mean, after the struggles with trying to put the right pieces together and building the team, melding the veterans from the World Cup winners of the past, like Captain Lindsey Horan and goalkeeper Alyssa Nair, with Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, and Mallory Swanson, who are the core of the next generation. Just some epic fails with coaching hires. I mean, hell, Emma Hayes signed on in what seemed like a New York minute prior to the proceedings in Paris. Nothing was guaranteed for this team, despite the level of talent they had on paper. But Rodman, Smith, and Swanson, Triple Espresso, they showed us that the future is extremely bright. As Rabbi said, they scored 10 of the USA's 12 goals. They assisted on 11 of them. Leading the way as the USA won their 5th Olympic gold medal, but their first since 2012. The final against Brazil was a highly contested classic, and I was riveted to my TV for every single minute of it. I had a doctor's appointment that morning. I made sure that I was home in plenty of time with my coffee and my breakfast to sit down right as the match get underway, and I can't remember at any point in my life ever doing that for a soccer match. So that should tell you that, the appeal that this team had. And I don't think it was just me. I think the entire country really embraced this team and was, really vested in seeing how far they could go.
By the way, is there any more weirdly cringe commercial than the races? Go ahead.
Then the
Sorry.
Reese's. Yeah, the
No,
Reese's.
I was going to say, I can say that the L train leaving John Kennedy boy was definitely racing to the TV because it's like, hey, I want to go watch Team USA soccer, trying to win gold. But keep in mind, they were not expected to win gold at this Olympics, and that's why it's such an amazing story and turnaround from what happened a year ago to Naomi Girl on the back end defensively. She was very stellar in this top to bottom. The women, they defended well. They took opportunities. They finished when that was definitely missing from this team a year ago, and also the chemistry and camaraderie just didn't feel off. But also, shout out to Alice Morgan as being supportive on social media with this team every step of the way. They're young. This is a young group, so it's definitely a great building block for the foreseeable future.
Rabbi, about that Reese's commercial.
That's all right. We really need to move on. I was just going to say it's kind of odd to have a Reese's commercial with Alex Morgan and Sophia Smith in it, specifically because that was shot way before they chose the team. But not as much of the thing over there. Okay. Now, with respect to this stifling defense of Naomi Germa, big props. One of the best defensive performances we've ever seen in an international tournament. And, of course, the 2 shootout victories and 300 scoreless minutes and knockouts of Alyssa Nair. That's not our second point. Our second is the mastery of national coach Emma Hayes, proving that if you want to do something right, steal it from England. By the way, big ups to the men's team hiring Mauricio Pochettino just yesterday.
I think y'all.
But yeah, by hands, Mauricio Pochettino just hiring him as the men's national head coach. That's going to be a big hire. But let's talk about Emma. The 47-year-old coach won 11 major. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now.
Okay. The 47-year-old coach won 11 major titles, 6 women's Super League titles, 1 WSL Spring Series title, 5 women's FA Cups, 2 FA Women's League Cups. In addition, Chelsea made the UEFA Women's Champions League final in 2021. Hayes was named the best FIFA Women's Coach of the Year for 2021, finalist for the award in 2023. They led Chelsea to WSL and Cup doubles, won the treble in 2021, taking the WSL, FA Cup, and League Cup trophies. Oh, yeah. And she started her career at the age of 25 in 2002 with the Long Island Rough Riders female soccer team right at Mitchell Athletic Complex. So, guys, let's start with you, Jay. Bow down to the woman who is a whole 10 games into her American national team coaching career, and the precedent is high.
Yeah, Rabbi, I mean, she was in her post-game conference after they won the gold, she was practically in tears talking about how much she loves this country because this country gave her start as a coach. I mean, and how much of a whirlwind has this summer been for Hayes? 84 days after leading Chelsea FC to a 5th consecutive FA Women's Super League title, she coaches the U.S. Women's National Team to victory in the Olympic gold medal match. That win, as you said, came in just her 10th match as the bench boss of Team USA. That is the fewest matches before winning a World Cup or Olympic gold by any head coach in women's soccer history. She's only the 2nd U.S. Women's National Team head coach to win every match in their first major tournament. Anson Dorrance won all 6 games of the 91 World Cup, and she was the 4th to win it all in her first major tournament as a head coach. The other 3 to do it, Dorrance winning that 91 World Cup, Pia Sundhage at the 08 Olympics, and Jill Ellis winning the 2015 World Cup. And with so little time before the Olympics started, Hayes fit her scheme to the roster she had instead of trying to ram round pegs into square holes as other U.S. Women's National Team coaches have done in the past. She also created a terrific team culture that got everyone buying in despite the short turnaround. And whereas past iterations of the U.S. Women's National Team appeared to be very way back into this team, and it definitely showed on the pitch. Everyone seemed to genuinely like each other, and nowhere was that more evident than the play of the three forwards. Hayes took some criticism for not using her subs very much. Once she settled on the top 11, she pretty much stuck with them. But when you don't have a lot of time to coach a team, you go with who you feel gives you the best chance to win every match. And considering the USA allowed just 2 goals for the entire Olympic tournament, with as well along with 4 clean sheets, I think we can safely say Emma Hayes knew what she was doing, guys.
Yeah, I think I think one of the biggest decisions that she had to make was leaving Alice Morgan off this roster and going with a more younger team that was not just more athletic in a sense, but also the 11 that she was able to stick with as far as endurance and durability. I mean, she didn't really use a lot of her stuff. And remember, Nina was on the World Cup team a year ago, and if you watch the documentary on Netflix, you kind of and you see this team a year later under Hayes. It's a night and day comparison. Whereas it felt more business-like, and you felt in the pressure on them coming to try to do something that had never been done before. 3P as World Cup champions. It clearly showed, and some of the coaching and some of the playing. Emma Hayes basically, she had a tough love Asteria, but she allowed them to have fun again, to be loose and to be themselves. I think that really kind of took the pressure off the players for the most part. And the fact that, she stuck with who she was comfortable with, and the players paid off in tenfold. You think about the players like Nia, Crystal Dunn, Lizzie Horan. For them, it's a case of redemption. Remember, Nia inches away from keeping that shootout alive against Sweden in last year's World Cup. Germa was spectacular. We talked in length about Tony Rodman. And that was the thing too, because to keep Rodman and to make him a starter, you almost had to leave someone off the roster. And Morgan was the odd woman out, which tells you how deep that forward position was as far as putting this roster together. And when you have a healthy Miles Swanson to add to that. But you can think about the team and the fact that Gurn was 24, Corbin Albert's 20, the triple espresso trio is 26, 23, 22 respectively. She has a foundation that can really add to the legacy of U.S. Women's soccer, but build their own legacy as well. And this is a great step towards that. Like Julie finally saying, we're back.
Yes. Nice partial announcing there for Julie Foudy saying
we're back, baby. It's a full quote.
It's funny how we're back can only mean after 4 years, but this is a very unexpected gold for this entire team, and it was very fun to see just the whole entire ride. All right. Now, the greatest gift that the NBA and WNBA has ever given us in the United States, they're pros, so we can win again, again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Let's finish our night on the sports side with men's and women's basketball. Since 2008 in Beijing, all the U.S. men's team is known as the color of gold, and the road to a fifth straight was not easy. For the first time, Steph Curry got to enjoy the on-court Olympic experience. And in the semifinals, after 36 points and 9 three-pointers, which quelled the Serbia upset, Curry then decided to show his love and make the other side of Europe angry as well, as in the finals versus France, 24 points, all on threes, including a series of 4 trays in the final 3 minutes that could only be described as increasing Steph difficulty. And the man who the French broadcast basically said they called him the devil, and Jay, the devil, finally got his Olympic due.
Yeah, I said about Curry on our Olympic preview, and I'm going to say literally word for word. Keep this in mind. The Olympic three-point line is 18 inches closer to the basket than the NBA line in the corners and 39 inches shorter at the top of the key. No NBA player had more threes than the 357 that Steph Curry knocked down this past season. Once the games start for real, the USA opens with Nikola Jokic and Serbia on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me if Curry starts knocking down his threes at a rate close to or better than the 43.8% he shot them at during the 2014 World Cup. If he does, cue up the Star-Spangled Banner because the USA will be taking home gold. What did he actually do? He knocked down 17 of his last 26 attempts. That is a 65.4% clip across the two most important games of the men's Olympic basketball tournament after only knocking down 5 of his first 20. Knocking down those last 4 on 4 shots at the end of the fourth quarter of the gold medal game was Curry at his absolute most ridiculous. The last 3 over the double team after going behind his back to create that extra inch of space he needed was insane. I think Bam Adebayo said it best, and this is the quote. It was kind of like, what the? But then I had to remember who was shooting it, and we've all seen him do incredible things like that. How about this stat, guys? Which the Athletic got courtesy of Warriors and Raymond. Steph had ever made 4 threes in the final 2 minutes and 47 seconds of a game. He'd only done it once in 1,103 NBA games. The guy met the moment.
I said this. I texted you guys, but I said that chef is cooking. Just let him cook. Chef is cooking. But here's the thing: 60 combined points between the game against Serbia and the game against France, the gold medal game. And Steph Curry's 36 points is pretty much what kept USA alive against Serbia for that comeback to even take place in the first place to begin with. But we've seen this time and time again, and it never ceased to amaze us how this guy can just make some of these shots. That last one, the step back when he's double teamed, it was like game over. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Like, you just saw the reaction of France bench was just like, there's nothing you can do about that. Like, what? How do you defend that? I mean, and the thing was, and I realized this too, when you're a shooter, it takes time to kind of adjust to the international 3-point line because it's so much closer and than the NBA line. But once you get the adjustment and figure it out and get the right touch, okay, now the shot starts to go down. And we saw that in Tokyo as well. We saw Damian Lillard kind of go through the same struggles because he's a prominent 3-point shooter. And once he got the ball rolling, the shots started to go down. And Eddie Edwards said that made a good joke. He was like, hey, look, Steph Curry finally showed up 3 days ago, but we're happy to finally have him. And like he showed up at the best time for Team USA because Steph Curry and this was what he was missing from his Hall of Fame career, a gold medal. He made his signature mark with those final 4 3-pointers. Like I said, I'm still kind of amazed by this, and I would be disappointed because the All-Star game is in San Francisco this year. If he does at least give us one more 3-point competition appearance, just give us one more. After this, he owes it to us. I need to see more because, like I said, it was just an amazing shooting exhibition that Steph Curry put on in those final 2 minutes. I put the game away for Team USA.
By the way, those 2 games are the only 2 games that Ayesha Curry attended, by the way, in these Olympics. Who's truly got the secret formula, guys? Huh? All right. Although he never led the U.S. men in scoring.
And you rag on me about the after-hour comments.
I'm just saying. Although that's a completely different thing, by the way. No. Although he had never led. Okay. Although he never led the U.S. men in scoring in any of the 6 games they played, 14.2 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 8.5 assists. That's enough to get MVP for the only player in Olympic men's basketball history to have multiple triple-doubles. That's LeBron James. Throw in what Curry did, it's the above, and Kevin Durant's flashes of brilliance that led to KD's record-breaking 4th gold, the only basketball player to do that. And despite not having anything to actually avenge except social media, get off X, Katie. Get off X and get off it now. I know you're on. The Avengers, as coined by the King, came out today. Let's start with Anthony here.
Yeah, you know what? LeBron was the most consistent player for Team USA from the start. I mean, there was a reason why he was pretty much the point guard on his team in the starting lineup. I mean, his ability to run that offense, to run Steve Kerr's offense, to get guys involved, to basically know when to pick and choose his spots to attack on offense, when to get guys involved. He had a beautiful behind the bounce pass to Bama for dunk in one of those games. But it's also the leadership too. There was a reason why he was voted to be a flag bearer during the opening ceremonies in the Olympic Games. It's the respect that he has from the younger guys that's following him, but his peers that he's battled over the years. Whether it's Steph Curry, whether it's Kevin Durant, who by the way, when you look at this flame, this is almost like the icing point of an era that is slowly winding down because these guys are late 30s and coming towards the end of their careers. And to see all three guys on the same team, probably for the only time, not including All-Star games, I don't count that. It's something that we really should appreciate and really challenge. 14.2 points a game. Obviously, the efficiency rating 23.5. You mentioned the triple doubles. But also, go back to even the exhibition games, how he took over games late against the South Sudan. By the way, shout out to Luau Deng for putting that program together. They got good things going for them. And LeBron James, just every time we think he's hit a wall, he takes it up to another level. And this is why, and yes, Stephon Marbury, you can't mention him in the same breath as Michael Jordan. Even if you don't think he's better, he's definitely up there. He has earned his right to be on that Mount Rushmore of greatest basketball players of all time because time and time again, the expectations have been here. He has exceeded those expectations and then some. We saw it from the moment he stepped out of high school, from the moment he was on ESPN for the first time, and 21 years later, he's still doing it. He's doing it again. And winning his third gold medal. By the way, one more than Michael Jordan. I have to put that out there because I like to piss off Michael Jordan fans.
Thank you. It's your job and your contract requirements.
Yes, and a shout out to Devin Booker.
Obligated to poke them, Rabbi. You know this.
I know it, and I don't co-sign it.
I know. We talked. It was batted around, the entire time. The comparison to the 1992 Dream Team. And I think part of the reason why the 2024 team was constantly being compared, was when it was formed originally, it had 12 All-Stars. When Kawhi was replaced with Derek White, that number dropped to 11, but now you had 3 guys from the 2024 NBA champion Celtics. You had 4 former MVPs, one of whom was the most prolific scorer in USA men's basketball history. Other than White, every one of these guys had an alpha-level resume. But as much as Steve Kerr did a masterful job getting them all to buy in, and in some cases, Jason Tatum, accept a much lesser role than they're used to, because the goal wasn't who played how many minutes, took how many shots, or scored how many points. The goal was gold. Nothing else mattered. And I'm not surprised that when it came down to it, Kerr went with the OGs, 3 guys who are first ballot Hall of Famers. Kevin Durant became the all-time USA basketball leader in points scored, breaking Lisa Leslie's record. Curry was Curry when the U.S. most needed him to be, and LeBron, well, a 39-year-old man should not be able to do what he does and did. You guys ran the numbers. I won't repeat them. His being named MVP is proof that Father Time still hasn't beaten the king just yet. It was amazing to watch those 3 give us this combined show of greatness. And I agree with you 100%, Anthony. It should be appreciated. go back, dial up Peacock and watch it again. The USA men won the gold on 8/10/24, Kobe Bryant uniform day. I sent you all the image from my Instagram feed. That really stuck with me. Between that and Sabrina Ionescu hugged us women, won gold the next day. It really felt like Kobe was there in Paris. Maybe he's why Steph knocked down that last three over the double team for the golden dagger, as Noah Eagle called it. It just felt like it. You know what I'm saying?
By the way, I will say this, and I said this to you guys before, and I'll say it again. LeBron James is the greatest Olympic basketball player of all time, full stop, in the way he's done it. So that might piss off a Jordan fan or two, but I think the numbers kind of agree with it. Okay. After wins in the first 4 games where the winning margin was at least 17 points, we wondered if that whole thing that we were talking about, that the world has gotten closer to the U.S., maybe that concept was a myth. Well, on this episode of Mythbusters came the semifinals versus Serbia and the finals versus France. The U.S. was down by 13 going into the final 10 minutes with Serbia, the fourth quarter, and then a plus 17 margin in the fourth gave them a chance to survive and advance. France was only down 1 possession under the 3-minute mark. Now, you can make your 100-point victories, you're shaking hands with Angola onto the court and saying, we're really, really happy to see you. But classic games like this make this run just as memorable, if not more.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rabbi. Every Summer Olympics, we talk about how much the world has caught up to USA basketball. I mean, hell, I even made the comment on our preview show that the Dream Team faced just 9 active NBA players in the 92 Olympics, and that this year, Team USA faced 61 active NBA players. But, truth be told, the world caught up to the USA a generation ago. Rabbi, I think you said it on text. Basketball and has been for a good while now the international game that the late NBA commissioner David Stern always dreamed it would be. If you still needed proof, well, you just have to watch the USA men having to fight, scratch, and claw at times to get through both Serbia, led by 3-time NBA MVP Nikola Jokic, who played like it in the semis where the U.S. trailed, as you said, by as much as 17 before a furious fourth quarter comeback spurred by minute points en route to that 95-91 win. And then there was France, led by NBA Rookie of the Year Victor Wembanyama, who did everything he could against the USA in that gold medal game. 26 points, 7 rebounds in the 98-87 loss that for the second straight Summer Games left Les Bleus with the silver. Both countries gave the U.S. all they could handle and then some, if not for the lights-out shooting of both Steph and KD. And don't forget that LeBron James, Captain America himself, just refused to let us lose. The medal podium could have looked a lot different in Paris. These were 2 of the best games of Olympic basketball I have seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and you mentioned David Stern. That his vision was to make the game more global. You think about this: the league MVPs of the NBA were born outside the United States. Joel Embiid, Cameroon, Nikola Jokic, Serbia, and Giannis the days of the Dream Team beating someone by 50 and then taking photo ops with them after the game is over. I mean, you saw a young rising superstar in Victor Wembanyama in his home country with the crowd behind him, the home court advantage, put on a show, and pretty much just to paraphrase his own words, this is just the beginning because he's going to get a lot better. Nikola Jokic is not going anywhere anytime soon. I mentioned, look at this. Canada has their own NBA star-studded roster and did not medal. Germany, led by Dennis Schroeder, came in 4th. They came and was a tough game for 3rd place with Serbia. That just tells you the level of talent in these Olympics have substantially increase compared to the Dream Team. Like I said, the Dream Team, there'll never be another team like that again. But I really wish we stopped with the comparisons because that is a different era, a different generation. They were the founding fathers of the USA basketball we have now. They set the tempo. But you have to know, just like in soccer, that the world is going to get better along with us. It was up to USA to continue to get better, to strive more. And when you think about what happened in 2004, there was complacency that set in. Because I remember they won in 2000, but it wasn't celebrated because they weren't winning in dominant fashion like they had been in years past. I'm sorry, people. There was no such thing as style points when you win. A win is a win at the end of the day. And US and Team USA, they were giving all they could handle in those last two games. And it tells you that for Los Angeles, USA is really going to have to really put their best team forward to go up against what's going to be a very improved tournament field. And by the way, Tyrese Halliburton, I know he's a pacer. I got it. He's a WWE heel, but I have to give him some love for accepting the role that he was. He did not play in 3 of those games, including the final. He was showing a great teammate. Both guys off the bench, the Greek guys, when they're coming off the court, he had a positive attitude the whole time. Even made a joke about, doing nothing for the class five, the group five.
That was a great social media post. It was perfect.
I think, and then you compare that to the bilingual, which I used to see with Jason Taylor. It was like, look, this is not, as much as you want to see everybody play. When you see Kerr, you have to go with the best guy, the guys you can trust the most under these circumstances. And Tatum was not playing well, but when he was on the court, and you think about this, Joel Embiid didn't play, but still came back and was a big part of that comeback, like that big comeback against Serbia. And Anthony Davis, he had his ups and downs, but he was big. Adebayo, Derek White, Drew Holiday. I mean, the guys, they had to buy it. Devin Booker, especially.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
These are all alpha males that had to buy in and let her gold medal. But this tells you that that what David Stone wanted is now a fruition. That the NBA is a global game, and that it's going to get better and better. And it's on USA Basketball and Grant Hill to make sure that the best players and the best team, the best coach, and the best chemistry can move forward and keep USA in contention for gold in 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw it, Rabbi. I'll throw this to you in a second. I don't know if you guys saw the social media post that Devin Booker put up. Somebody on Twitter was, going off on Team USA and the way the roster was put together. Like, oh, they better find, some role players willing to accept, do 3-and-D and do the dirty things. And Booker just kind of replied, basically saying, I'll do it. And he did. I mean, Steve Kerr flat out said he was the unsung MVP, Rabbi.
Yeah, and by the way, you mentioned everything earlier about all the Celtics being on this team, 3 Celtics. You're not even including the Finals MVP, who was home the whole entire time. Oh, and one thing that it might be a credit to Nikola Jokic, or it might be just his demeanor, but I feel like he was at least 3 times more excited for the bronze medal he won with Serbia than much more excited than he was. I feel like he treats his job with the Nuggets like it's a 9-to-5 job. You go in, you get Employee of the Month, and then you go right back home, and then you bet on the horse races in Serbia, and you're a lot more happier. But credit to Nikola Jokic. That man is a machine. He had a great Olympics too, part of the all-Olympic team at the end. The whole entire men's tournament. Moving on to the women's tournament, and boy, style points were not given out in that gold medal game. The last gold of the Olympics was one of the biggest nail biters. We'll get to that in a moment. First of all, let's just talk about the overall accomplishment. 61 consecutive Olympic Games won. That's the first ever basketball team to ever win 8 straight golds. Every Olympics since Anthony was a young boy watching Kerry Strug in 1996, they were on top. Guys, their last loss in the Olympics was before the original Dream Team won gold. That's insane. So many things to talk about for the women's basketball team. So many things to marvel at, guys.
Lost an Olympic basketball game was August 5th, 1992, 34 years ago in Barcelona. They are now 77-3 all time in Olympic play, going all the way back to 1976 when women's basketball was first played at the Montreal Summer Games. Reading that stat just blew my mind. That's just mind-boggling to me. I know head coach Cheryl Reeve didn't look at it that way. She did her best to make sure the team looked at it as just their specific Olympic Games. But man, the pressure to uphold this legacy, and at this point, it's a bigger one than the men have. Yeah, I can't see how that doesn't creep in with all the constant external noise about it. The players were asked about it seemingly every.
You think about this, 61, and no, there's no asterisk to this 61, but you think about how, because you think about the level of excellence to win that many games, and you don't think those women last Sunday, felt the pressure of winning that winning streak? You have another day coming, okay? Because to put it bluntly, this was only, I think, the third time in a very long time that they won a game by single digits, and this was the narrowest of margins, which just tells you how good and how dominant the women's team have been. But unlike, and also another thing too is, unlike the men's team, the women's team, at least in this form, have actually played together, and that was kind of the part of the point of Coach Reeves keeping his roster the way it is, because this is the team that played in the World Championships, and it kind of had the chemistry there, and they needed it definitely. And even then, you kind of saw some of the unknown as far as players, what the favorite spots is on the court. But yeah, 61. When you think back to, I was just watching the episode of Martin, and it just going way back when you have Rebecca Lobo, Dawn Staley, and Lisa Leslie on Team USA. This was back in 1996 when the streak literally started. And now you fast forward here, and Dawn Staley's one of the most decorative coaches in team sports. Rebecca Lobo is a legend, prominent ESPN personality, and Leslie Leslie, of course, is a living legend in her own right. And it's like how much time has passed, and yet Team USA women are still winning. They're still on top. And what a moment was to see Brittany Griner at the everything she went through. Emotionally, man, on that podium, accepting the gold medal, and saying that how much the country fought for her to come home and to represent Team USA, to bring a gold medal home, and how that meant to her. That was another special moment.
Yeah, it was actually the first time that BG had been out of the United States since coming back from Russia. So, I mean, it was definitely an emotional Olympics for her, and it was a great story.
This is what sucks about being the next person to write, because this is exactly what I wrote on to the next sentence. Now, just like Roger Maris, Anthony, you made the 61 line before we did. Two Yankee fans in the Met fan made the 61
props.
line. Props, but damn you. So now, just like Roger Maris, the U.S. women certainly made 61 memorable in the finals versus France, a game where both teams shot a combined 42 of 129, just a tad under 33%. 33 turnovers combined, 38 fouls combined. That's the equivalent of 7.5 players fouling out in FIFA play. A 1-point victory by the U.S., where the French decided to really pay homage to four-time Olympic champ Kevin Durant by having a shoe size just too big to actually shoot the game-winning three-pointer. It was a 2. That ended the game right there. Wild ending to a wild saga of a game, Ant.
said that the officials duel
There were
with 5
none.
analysts on each team that and nobody scored. I mean, it was a sloppy game by Team USA. But you know what? This is France game. France whole game throughout this tournament was basically around their defense. I think they realized the limitation of their offense, and they had to muddy the game and to be physical. And this is probably the most physical team that USA that had played throughout the tournament. You think about this, the size and the physicality down the paint clearly had an effect and Brianna Stewart. Otherwise, path to a gold medal. But and I talked about the game being global, but we see it on the women's side too. Gabby Thomas is a WNBA player who decided to stay over in France to help to play for the women's national team. And Jay, you recognize this young woman. Who was made just a year ago in the perimeter. But yeah, this is, I mean, Gabby Williams, I think Gabby Thomas, Gabby Williams. But yeah, I mean, you look at that game, and France, they had a 10-point lead in the second half of that game. So it was definitely anyone's game. But then you think about, the bench was big too. She knocked down a couple of big threes in an afternoon. Well, Team USA really struck, but for the tournament, Team USA struggled to hit threes, which is surprising when you consider that Lenescu and even Diana and Jewel Warren, who by the way, those two did not couldn't outside the 3-point line, which I thought that would have been one of the biggest strengths going into this tournament. With all the outside shooting that would have balanced out the inside presence that you had with the forwards, with Stewart, with Agent Wilson, with Griner, with Collier. They had so much of an inside presence. But yeah, France really took it to Team USA, but it wasn't because it was the total opposite of what we saw in on the men's side. This was purely defense and grinding out to the last moment. And yeah, they did one by a foot. And Gabby Williams, I know this is something she's going to look back on, but she played terrific. She had 18 points. She knocked out some big shots that made it even more nerve-wracking. And unfortunately, her momentum, if she had pulled out maybe a couple of steps further back, as she was moving forward, that's a 3, and we're going to overtime. But her momentum took her extra step forward, and you saw the picture of Brianna Stewart pointing to the line almost immediately. It was a 2. But yeah, that is as close. That is I would call Scott Nolan-esque as far as coming this close between winning and losing. I know I'm killing you with the sports references, but I'm on a roll tonight.
You are. You know, first time in Olympic basketball history that the gold medal game featured A, the host country, and 2, the same teams in both the men's and women's gold medal games. You know, just like it was with the men's team, France's women gave the U.S. all it could handle. As Anthony said, you know, these were the 2 best defensive teams in the Olympics, and it was an absolute rock fight for the full 40 minutes. You know, the USA struggled with France's ball pressure. You know, Rabbi talked about the turnovers, and there were some that were absolutely ugly, and they just could not keep France off the offensive glass. Gabby Williams, as Anthony talked about, unstoppable. Only French player in double figures, 19 points. You know, and if she had launched that last shot from just behind the arc instead of just inside it, things may have gone much differently for the USA. You know, the basketball wasn't pretty by any stretch of the word, Rabbi, but it was competitive as hell.
Yeah, and if you need a competitor, just call on the next person that we're going to talk about. Now, some people may have questioned why LeBron James got the MVP of the men's Olympic tournament, but I think I've looked through social media and I will not find a soul that says that Aja Wilson didn't deserve the same for the women. Although there's probably some Caitlin Clark stands out there that would have just given the MVP to her, even though she never actually played a minute. 21 points, 13 rebounds in that France finals triumph, and a ho-hum 18.7 points, 10.2 rebounds, and almost 60% shooting from the field. And as I told you before, not a lot of shots went down in this tournament, it seemed like. So, guys, Jay, Asia Wilson is truly one of one. We're lucky.
Yeah, she's the best player in the WNBA, and arguably with what she did in leading Team USA to the gold, the best player in the world. Started the gold medal game 2 of 11, including some missed layups, and it was a big reason why France had that early lead. But she recovered to lead the USA to the gold. 13 of her game high 21 points in the last 13 plus minutes of the second half. The only starter in the game with double figures, along with 13 rebounds, 4 blocks. She is the WNBA's leading rebounder this season and the reigning back-to-back defensive player of the year. So those last 2 numbers are no surprise. An MVP second half performance when an MVP performance was needed from Team USA's best player, culminating with some defensive player of the year worthy defense on France's final shot. She earned that Olympic basketball tournament MVP award. It took all of Team USA to secure the gold medal, but at the end of the day, Ant, USA won because, as the saying goes, we have Asia Wilson and the rest of the world doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the Nike billboard that the picture sent to YouTube said, you can't win it all. And Asia Wilson was the best player by far for Team USA. And look, you've seen it in the WNBA all season long. We saw it last year. We saw it the year before. She's on pace to win another MVP this year. 18 a game, 10 rebounds. She did not shoot the ball well in that gold medal game, but she had a couple of defensive stops, some key blocks, some rebounding. She did all the other things. And then when the shots finally started to go down to spell USA comeback, that's pretty much what Asia Wilson's been all season. By the way, congratulations to Asia Wilson. She's the first WNBA player to have a 99 rating in the newest NBA 2K25 video game coming out at the end of this month. Yes, that's a huge accomplishment. It shows that she is the best player in the game, the best player in the world, and she absolutely deserves this to add this to her resume on top of 2-time WNBA champion, NCAA champion, and 2-time FIBA World Cup champion. Yes, you can win it all.
Now, by the way, I think now your qualities for being in the upper echelon of the Hall of Fame must be 99 video game rating, or else you haven't done it all officially.
Hey,
no, it's true. It's coming that way now.
It went for Devin Hester. He's in the Hall of Fame now.
It did. That was probably the last thing that got him in finally on the last ballots. Okay. Asia not only proved her dominance in these Olympics on the court, she also proved her dominance in vocabulary, meaning she could take a 2-word title and make it into 1 word, because when asked in 1 word how to describe teammate Kalia Copper, she described him as that bitch. And judging by hustling play after play and being the most dominant player on the court in the 4th quarter of that gold medal game, Kalia Copper is 100% that gold medalist bitch.
Yeah, Team USA was built around Asia Wilson and Breanna Stewart. It made sense. They have 4 WNBA MVPs between them, 2 each, and they were 1 and 2 in scoring at 18.7 and 16.3 points per game, respectively. But with the depth this team had, anyone else could potentially take the alpha scorer role for a game or even a quarter. And that's what happened in the gold medal game. And it was Kalia Copper coming off the bench, scoring 10 of her 16 points in the 4th quarter to lead the USA to victory. It was an impressive showing, though not surprising to anyone who follows the W. She leads the Phoenix Mercury in scoring at 23.2 points per game. But to hear Asia Wilson describe Copper's performance with the words, "that bitch," was A, spot on, and 2, absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, by the way, Julia Copper had a playful jab at Kelsey Plum, who took a picture of her sleeping, and she said, "Count your days." So so I love the fun banter between the women camaraderie. By the way, 29 points tonight for the Phoenix Mercury in their return to WNBA play against Chicago Sky.
Bucket get.
Copper was what you call the glue person on this team. I mean, she did all the little days. She scored when she needed. She made a couple of big baskets during that fourth quarter, including a driving layup. I mean, she was able to get buckets when Team USA really was struggling to shoot the ball or to get anything going offensively. And you said it, Rabbi. The turnovers were just atrocious at times. It was literally a case of not being on the same page, uh, being maybe tired legs. I mean, France was physicality looked like it was taking its toll a little bit, but Khalil Copper, whenever there was an open, there was a lane, she was there. She took it to the basket. She did everything. She played solid defense, and she was just like I said. She was kind of. We talk about Devin Booker being the glue that kept everything together at tough times. This is Khalil Copper's um moment as well, and she was able to do that. And she's a WNBA champion in her own right. In her own right. So she's been there. She's been there. She's been to in clutch games, and she really came through for Team USA to win that 8th gold medal.
By the way, traded from the Sky to the Mercury this offseason, and that was one of her first games against her old team tonight. So no wonder, but she had 29 points. By the way, Jay said it perfectly while watching this game with the legendary comment of, because that's exactly how I felt watching the first half of that game, unfortunately. It was funny because it was like I was at points rooting, I mean, obviously rooting for the United States, but at points I'm like, let's actually have a game that doesn't have a 15-9 quarter into it. And luckily, the last few minutes of that game was pretty damn exciting and a good way to close out the Olympics. Finally, let's talk about Diana Taurasi. 8 golds that the U.S. has won, and the 42-year-old has been a part of 3/4 of them. And the WNBA's all-time leading scorer was Jason Tatum in the finale of the Olympics versus France. By the way, that's not playing a single minute in that France game. Legacy secure, Anthony. Cherry on top. Now on the Sunday.
Yeah, it's cool too because she now has bragging rights over Sue Bird. She has one extra gold medal. And obviously they're good friends, and it's been kind of the cornerstone rivals for generation of WNBA players. But yeah, DT has been the ultimate winner from the moment from UConn to the WNBA and even through the Olympics. She has been one of the best players, male or female. She has been the consummate leader. I think that something that the role is on these teams because she's playing she's playing on obviously 5 now 6 Olympic teams. But also the fact that she was just supportive of her teammates without playing a single minute. And I think that is something that I think that Taurasi definitely in this case is going to cherish. The fact that her voice in that locker room was just as vital as a play on the court. But yeah, the ultimate winner, and if this is her last year, the Swan Song, I couldn't think of a better way to go out by adding one more piece of hardware to the Hall of Fame resume of Diana Taurasi.
Yeah, when she was setting women's college basketball on fire at UConn, her coach Gino Auriemma used to say that part of the reason the Huskies had so much success was that we have Diana Taurasi and you don't. That level of play continued in the WNBA, where Taurasi became an 11-time All-Star, a 3-time WNBA champ, the 2009 MVP, the all-time WNBA career scoring leader. And along the way, she went from being the brash rookie of Team USA to the alpha of Team USA to the elder stateswoman of Team USA, winning those now 6 gold medals along the way over the course of 20 years. For those 2 decades, she was the face of USA women's basketball. At times, its best player, its best leader, its best teammate, and the greatest winner in women's Olympic basketball history. Every Olympic team she has played on has required a different role, be that brash rookie, be that number one offensive option, be an elite passer, be that veteran leader, be a starter, come off the bench, use your voice more than your skills. You know, her fellow UConn alum, New York Liberty star Breanna Stewart calls Taurasi the gold standard of USA basketball, and not just because of the number of medals Taurasi has around her neck now. But I think USA head coach Cheryl Reeves said it best, and here's the quote. She has defined USA basketball. I don't know that there's a greater competitor. D is Mount Rushmore in that way. That's the legacy Diana Taurasi leaves behind, and it's more than a fitting one.
All right, so we have an Olympic marathon that usually closes out the show. So to finish out this Olympic marathon, 2 final non-sports related points. First, it's Snoop Dogg. Yep, the man who will be on primetime TV this fall as a judge on The Voice took over primetime for NBC during the Olympics. Here, by the way, is a picture of Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart during equestrian, because of course. Being a part of the Olympics coverage, Snoop Dogg was, and literally asking the question, what did Snoop not actually do? He's one of the many reasons why the Olympics did overall combined ratings of over, Jesus Christ, 75% more than the Olympics did 3 years ago. And he was paid handsomely, but you could tell nobody was having more fun in Paris.
No, I mean, I think I said it at various points to you guys on text. I mean, he was the Where's Waldo. He was quite literally everywhere. You know, from equestrian to volleyball. He was in the stands for track and field alongside Simone Biles. It was the first chance Biles has ever gotten to actually watch another Olympic event. So that was kind of hilarious. And honestly, I don't think anyone had any more fun in Paris. And I'm going to throw it to you because the comment you made in group text about him as it relates to both Paris and LA upcoming, you need to let the rest of the world know what you told all of us over text.
Okay, I basically say I'll basically say, since the Olympics coming to Los Angeles, I want Snoop Dogg and Kendrick Lamar to be flag bearers for the opening ceremony. Snoop, because he is Mr. Long Beach, and he deserves to be a flag bearer after everything he's done. Kendrick Lamar, because we gotta let the world know they're not like us. I think that's pretty much clear cut thing. But no, Snoop Dogg made the Olympics fun. He made it exciting. By the way, if you follow him on social media, he's even funnier to follow on social media. By the way, he's a big Batman fan. He's online all the time. So if you want to challenge the game, good luck. He's actually good. But yeah, Snoop Dogg was just like he was basically all of us. Like, we lived vicariously through Snoop Dogg through the entire Olympics as far as where's he gonna be at next? How about him pushing the breaking competition for the very first time, at least for the moment, the only time breaking's gonna be part of the Olympics. The guy was everywhere. And by the way, shout out to Flavor Flav as well. As far as celebrities who came through and also sponsoring U.S. women's polo. If you, I have to throw this little cheap plug out there. I'm a Funko shareholder. Yes, his Funko Pop is available, and the proceeds go to U.S. women's polo. So yes, shout out to him, but shout out to all the celebrities too. I mean, that was able to show up and root for Team USA. And this is something I was missing 3 years ago in Tokyo because of the pandemic.
Funkos.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to make, 2 points, and then I'll let y'all, kind of take it from there. The 2 things that, kind of resonated with me, as I kind of like looked back on, this Olympic experience. Paris was such a terrific host city, kind of reminded us of how the Olympics should be and what was, that we so needed them to be that way after the emptiness of Tokyo. You know, listening to Al Michaels and Bob Costas, the voices of the Olympics of my youth, talk with Mike Tirico in the studio on that final day of the games, also kind of helped remind me that what we saw in Paris is the Olympics as they're supposed to be. And the other thing that I really enjoyed most, and I think part of it was because, being able to watch so many of the marquee events live, across NBC and USA, all the other outlets, due to Paris being only 6 hours ahead of me, and also me working from home, it was such a treat. And it definitely made these Olympic Games so much more fun, especially with the running text group, group text that the three of us had going, with the rest of our on the sports line crew, our OGs, Pedro and Steve and Nolan and Sean. And those are my final takeaways from the games. And it definitely this was so much more fun than Tokyo. Granted, it was a low bar, but yeah, this was the Olympics as it was supposed to be, and maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, and I was piggyback off what you said. Paris was amazing, and Rabbi, you've been to the city. I have yet to be there, so I'm going by your experience of how beautiful it was to watch on TV. But everything from the opening ceremony and seeing the countries come out in a downpour in certain points, and seeing Celine Dion come back and sing this wonderful song from the Eiffel Tower, no less. The great scenery shots of beach volleyball with the Eiffel Tower in the back as a backdrop. To seeing the competition, the track and field, but seeing fans in the stands, and seeing just people enjoying the Olympic competition the way I remember it growing up, and seeing it. And it was like, this is how the Olympics should be. This is how it's supposed to be. Even going back to 2016 in Rio, something felt off about it. There was a whole Sika situation that was going on that kind of took some of the spotlight away from Rio. And we know the pandemic that happened. I would say this is the first time since 2012 for me, where the Olympics felt like the Olympics, and it felt and because it wasn't such a big time difference to be able to watch the events live, has this happened, and not on tape delay or having to watch the replay, and to see such a wonderful city be such a great host from top to bottom. Bravo. I mean, Paris absolutely nailed it, hosting the Olympics, and Los Angeles is to be the third time they're hosting in 4 years. I'm really confident that LA is going to show out too, and like I said, I'm just happy to see that the Olympics is back the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and just the way it was presented, kind of in the way that it was kind of different from the years past of plausibly live, the Dick Ebersol era, basically enjoying everything from, if you wanted to watch it live, if you had time during the day, you could watch it pretty much in the afternoon hours. Or if you wanted to watch the recap show in prime time, it was presented in a way that didn't make the casual viewer feel like an idiot thinking it was live all the time or watching highlights that you've never seen before, because you have seen them before. You watched them in the afternoon. I think the area was great to see. Weather held out pretty good for most of the time. The visuals, everything. This was a pretty damn good Olympics, and does set up a whole new precedent going forward on how we watch the Olympics, especially when we're watching it from Europe. It'll be very interesting to see how we watch it from an actual time zone that we actually notice about in a few years, watching it in literal prime time in California. But this is going to be an Olympics that we will never, ever forget. By the way, Funkos and a background of Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, that seems appropriate. What podcast am I actually on? Am I on the right one?
You are, Rabbi.
Okay. I do a lot of them. I just wanted to make sure I was on the right one before
I gotta ask you though, and I'll ask both of you guys, but Rabbi, since I know you're as much of a devotee of it as I am, I know Anthony is too. Can we give some props to Scott Hansen and Gold Zone?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we can. That was an absolutely great idea. They actually just announced they're going to do another version of it. It won't be with Hansen because it'll be for the Paralympics, which begin in pretty much about a week from now. So it'll be very interesting to see. All right, for Martha, Snoop, running back at me, and also for our gold medal panelists of Jay Kaplan and Anthony Strait, I am the man that just missed the podium because my appeals were 4 seconds late again. Steven Rabinowitz. Damn you, Romanians! Damn you! YouTube.com/onthesportslines to see our vast library. Facebook.com/onthesportslines is where we live stream this madness. And guys, Jay specifically?
Yeah, our Twitter. I will never call it by the other thing.
It's called X. I will call it X.
You can call it that. I won't. Is at ONTH Sportslines, where you'll see a link to this Olympic level marathon of a show tomorrow. And it's also where you will find links to interesting pieces of sports information or stories that we definitely think are worth your time to watch. I put up a link last week to a terrific piece by Brendan Quinn of The Athletic that he did at the close of the Paris Olympics, where he talks, much like I just did, and we all just did, about how much we needed these games after the emptiness of Tokyo. The pandemic Olympics is what Quinn called them, and it was an apt description. Barely any fans and mostly empty venues. The joy was missing. Paris gave that joy back to us. This was, as we've all said, the Olympics as it used to be, and now thanks to Paris, it is once again. It's a quick scroll on our Twitter page to find it, third post from the top, and it is so worth your time to read.
Thank God I took away the X promotions now, because you do it a lot more eloquently. We'll see you in about a week for On the Sports Lines College Football edition. Let's get that pigskin ready to go. Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.